feel like, through this process, you weren't sure you're going to have your whole team with the 3 internationals until they got here, and they didn't show up until the last week of July. So it was a stressful process, just getting the whole roster here. But I think, at this point, they're tired right now because yesterday was our first off day since we started. But I feel like they've gotten to know each other a little bit, do a little team bonding, a little team retreat, which I think was important. I think everybody's starting to understand, what I would like for this to look like. Expectations of culture, expectations on the court, and it's getting real now. So we had our first scrimmage, and I think that was important for us. But it's a great group. I think we have a lot of talent. I think we have a lot of great pieces to be able to put together a strong roster or strong lineup, and looking forward to kind of where we can take this.
Coach, have you ever had
a schedule that looks like this at the beginning of the season where you're on the road so much, 12, 13, before you play here at home?
Unfortunately, yeah, I have. So at Oregon, it was pretty hard to get home matches. So there was a lot of times we had to go on the road for the whole non-conference. This time it wasn't because it's hard to get matches. It was that we had some commitments that we had to return to. So we had to go back to South Dakota, had to go back to Purdue because they came here. So we were committed to that. And then we got invited to play in the First Serve tournament in Lincoln. We didn't want to turn that down. And then we got invited to play in the tournament out in Madison, which is a great opportunity for us. We didn't want to turn that one down either. And then by the time I got hired, it was hard to find that fourth weekend home, the right matches that you want. So it was a combination of things that led us on the road the whole time. Obviously, I'd like to be home for at least 1 or 2 weekends if I could. In the future, we'll work for that for sure. But I just felt like it was the right moves to make. And, we're going to learn a lot about ourselves on the road. We're definitely going to be tested. There's a big reason why we went to Lincoln in the spring to play Nebraska in that scrimmage, to be in those environments, to play a lot of people, packed house, and just to see what a road trip was going to be like. And luckily for us, they're pretty regional. So I hope the travel won't be too bad, but ideally we'd like to be home a little bit more.
Matt, I know you said on the Big 12 thing the other day that the preseason awards are nice, but don't mean a whole lot. I do wonder though what you make of being picked second. Did that surprise you? So many new faces, new coaching staff, all that. Did you have any take on that?
Well, it surprised me because I don't know our team yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, so if I don't know our team yet, it's hard for anybody else, I feel like, to know. I think if you look at the roster, you see some talent, so then, you're guessing. But then also, I'm also on the ABCA coaches pool, group, so, and I was going through that too, and it's like, there's a lot of teams that also graduated a ton.
Sure.
Maybe not as much as Kansas graduated from last year. But there's a lot of turnover all over the place, so I can see how nobody really knows for sure. And I think the fact that 5 teams were picked first by at least somebody in the conference tells you how deep the conference is, and it's a great conference for volleyball. I think there's going to be a handful of teams or more that are going to make the tournament. Yeah. So I think you can see a bunch of different teams doing well. Who will put it all together? That's what we're going to find out. Yeah, exactly.
Do you get a feel for what that kind of target? It's almost being picked first and second. Obviously, do you get a feel for what that target means to your girls? Whether you know them, recruited them, brought them in, inherited them, whatever. Do you have a feel for that?
Well, at least for this coach, I welcome it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point. Again, you can't say you're trying to win championships and be afraid of what people think you're good. Right. So again, I think it's what we've been talking about is raising our standards. So if you do that and you live life that way, you are going to raise your standard, and then all of a sudden people are going to take notice of what's happening. So I think what it means to the group is bringing it every day. A consistency. The best teams, they show up every day, they're consistent. Work ethic, demeanor, thought process, things like that. Even if not physically, you can go every day hard, but your intent is there. And I'm trying to really hold them to that standard. And I think that piece for our group, that is a push. But they're responding great. I'm really proud of them. Obviously, again, we're only 10 days into this thing, so we'll see how we do when classes start and when the travel happens that we talked about, and we're playing really tough competition on the road, and all the things that the season will bring us. But just trying to again create a culture where you're expected to be great, you're working to be great, and that's what you want to achieve.
One more quick one. I don't think we asked you this when you were hired, introduced, all that, but did you recruit any of these girls that you did in here at any point? Was that cross paths with them, anything like that, or were they all brand new to you?
That were on the current team?
Correct. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Figured it's west, out west.
Yeah.
What was the process like of identifying and recruiting those 3 international players that you brought in over the summer?
Yeah, just find a video, reaching out. I mean, I feel like more than ever, there's more recruiting services out there. And I think this is a time where a lot of international players are choosing to come to America, which is neat, like high caliber players. So we had a handful of people reach out to us about different athletes, and I think from, on the West Coast, it's a further time change, and that was a harder one for us. But being central, a little bit easier to get some international players that want to come here from Europe. So it was not a bad process. And it was fun to get to meet a lot of families. The 3 families that are here now with Giovanna and Aurora and Celine, they had never been to America before. So it's pretty cool, to have them here for the first time and just seeing them experience everything for the first time, like Chick-fil-A, things like that. So that the team, they get a big kick out of it with them. So it's just been fun. I think it just makes our culture that much better. They bring so much to our team. Yeah.
Coach, internally, have players stepped up from a leadership standpoint and kind of taken ownership and something that you've been able to identify players that you can kind of lean into?
Yeah, I mean, one of my goals is that, I'm not a huge fan of captains. I think you have them. It's a lot easier for us to communicate, when you have a couple people that you can go back and forth with. But especially in our sport, I think it's so important that everybody's a leader. It feels like they can't be a leader, that everybody's voice matters. I tell them all the time that, when you're on the court, but you feel that person on the bench who's having a bad day and is taking energy, do you feel it, and does it distract you? And the answer is yes. Just like if it's somebody on the floor doing the same thing, you're going to feel it. So I think they're all really trying to be leaders themselves. But specifically to what you're saying, I think Reagan Burns has done a great job. I think she's consistently giving a voice. I think she really has a really good gauge of the temperature of the group when they need to say it. When she says things, it's so good. I'm always stopping, listening, taking it in. So I think she's been someone that I just think consistently has just been there for the group. And again, I don't know what her role will be. She's giving everything that she can, but I think she's definitely invested in this group's success, and she's really leading the charge as far as giving an example with it.
You said people can notice that there's talent on this roster. If you were reading through it, what names do you think are popping off the list of people?
I think the 3, that were mentioned in the preseason, so I think, Chris, Klein, I think had a nice season in Oregon last year and got some awards, so people noticed her. I think she played really well against Nebraska in the spring match, and it sure feels like everybody in the volleyball world watched that match. It was probably because it's the only game on in town, at the time in April, but I think she was impressive. John Cook liked her, so then everybody else likes her too. John thinks she's good, he must be good. So I think that was part of that, but Katie Dalton and Ellie Moore are right there. We have 3 really good setters in our gym. So I think I love watching them push each other every day. They're all getting better because they're competing with each other. Giovanna made that list, and Giovanna's had a ton of success internationally. 6'7" with a big arm, hits the ball really hard and high, and very imposing block. There's a lot to like there. Reese Patak, obviously, got a lot of press last year as the freshman of the year. And I think her game just keeps getting better and better. So, I think those ones stand out. But I will tell you, I don't know, I'm not close to making a lineup, which is very scary. At this point, you generally have an idea of what you're doing, I don't yet. And that's because they're all really pushing for it to be them. And so that's a really great problem for this coach to have. We're gonna have to figure it out, and it doesn't mean it'll be set in stone, but we'll have to figure out kind of what we're gonna do with here in the beginning. But I really don't have a great idea because everybody is doing a really nice job right now.
Hey, with those setters you just talked about, what can Chris bring to the 2 that have been here, and what can those 2 kind of bring to her? I'm sure that's sort of a meshing of the minds.
Yeah,
right?
even though Chris is young, but right now she has the most experience.
Yeah.
Because she actually set last year, and Kate Dalton is really good. She's been hurt, I think, her whole career. So I just don't think anybody's seen what she can do, but I see it in practice. She's very good. If you're at the scrimmage, you got to see some of it there. So I think for her, it's just about being healthy, being consistently present each and every day. So she's doing everything that she can. Really proud of her. But that's a senior that really wants to be great, and so she just needs that opportunity. So I think she's doing what she can. So we'll see where it goes. Ellie Moore, I think, is like your vet setter. Like, she just knows what to do. She knows where to put the ball. She knows who to set. Has really great feel. So they all bring different things to the table. happy we have all of them in our gym.
What is it about Chris that makes her fit you and that?
Yeah, I
brings
generally
her-
like for our best athlete to be our center.
Okay.
So again, I think we'll be one of the better passing teams in the country, so maybe you don't need that quite as much because they control the ball pretty well. But I really like, you have to be able to get your feet to the ball, you have to be dynamic around the net, things like that. But she's generally a very consistent setter to the pin, trying to get her more involved with the middle right side. Our right side, Giovanna has a big window, so that makes that a little bit easier, and Reese runs a really nice slide. Chris is tough. She puts up a nice block. She has good size for a setter. But she's a gamer. She competes really hard, and she's not afraid of the moments.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank